Ever since I made a couple videos powerscaling Hank Hill and Dale Gribble, a few 100,000 people have been wondering, am I mentally... Okay. You know what, if you're watching this video, there's a pretty good chance you've seen one of these, and you already know how they work. So yeah. I rewatch the series, take notes, and I tell you guys the characters' feats, and use this little number in the corner here to tell you what % of their full power they're at as we go season by season. So let's skip the fluff and just get into this video on one of the strongest army barbers you'll ever see. William Fontaine de la Tour Dautrive, or as he's more warmly known, Bill. In the series, and just from a general look at him, Bill is pathetic. He's fat, short, and bald. And those are all not totally true, but let's get more specific. Bill is a 45-year-old man who stands at exactly 5'8" and 3/4 inches tall, as stated by himself.
I'm Bill Dautrive. I'm a sergeant barber in the United States Army. I'm 5'8" and 3/4 inches tall. My wife Lenore divorced me in the year of our Lord, 1991. That's about it.
Almost average. And I estimate him to weigh around 250 pounds with one of the highest body fat percentages in the entire series. Now, besides the blaring negatives Bill has, such as obesity, extreme depression, and general sadness, both physically and mentally, Bill is shown throughout the series to rapidly gain muscle mass, have immunity against planet-ending viruses, and is even able to output massive amounts of damage against one of the strongest characters in the series, Hank Hill himself. But I'll stop telling you and start showing you. With no further ado, after nearly another 4 months of constant work and research, this is the Bill Dautrive Power Scale. And just to really drill it home, this number here in the corner represents the % of his full power that Bill is at as we traverse the 13 seasons. Unlike Hank and Dale, in the first episode Bill shows basically no feats, besides a very minor amount of knowledge on cars.
You know what it could be. That damn starter motor. You getting good compression?
Yeah.
But in the rest of the season, we get some decent, but very unimpressive feats. For one, Bill with no hesitation indirectly said Peggy was like a bar girl in front of Hank, which shows some idiotic courage.
I've never been with a woman like that. Except, of course, a bar girl. Of course, I don't mean that Peggy's a bar girl or nothing like that. I mean, she just knows, you know, what a bar girl knows.
And we get a few feats about Bill's eating and digestion abilities, such as the fact he could have eaten an entire whooping crane had he not filled up on silent sticks. And he's really willing to eat anything if he's hungry enough, or if it's delicious enough. And he really drives this idea home when he basically outright states that he's tried human meat before.
Why? Why would they shoot people? Human meat's tough, flavorless. They should be out hunting for more dog.
And the final consumption-related feat for Season 1 was when it stated that Bill would have finished enough margaritas for an entire block party worth of people, which shows he can take quite a bit of alcohol and survive, since the main component of margaritas is a very strong liquor. Tequila!
Oh yeah! Come join the block party. Have at least one margarita before Bill finishes them all.
It's not margarita, okay? It's margarita.
The final feats for this season are what I call Bill's depression aura, where he can basically get away with stuff because people feel bad for him, which is shown when he takes the entire 6-pack of beer instead of splitting it up, and nobody says even a word about it.
Look, let's just split that 6-pack up. We can each take 2.
Tell you what, why not just take the whole thing?
Also, Bill was able to tie up and strip down Dale, who even had a fear power boost from breaking a federal law, which shows Bill has some crazy physical strength. For weaknesses, Season 1 is pretty barren, with them basically just being that Bill was hurt by Hank lightly jabbing him in the gut with a pruner, and the fact he's so depressed sometimes he physically becomes unable to blink.
Oh, kids and their crazy dreams.
I'm so depressed I can't even blink.
And this is a trend that continues throughout the entire series. Bill's greatest limiter is his depression and generally bad mental health, which keeps him a lot weaker than he should be. So based on Bill's powerful depression aura, ability to take down a fear-boosted Dale with his raw strength, and his immense consumption-related abilities, all of which are held back by his severe depression, Bill at the end of Season 1 is already at 14% of his full power.
It's too soon to ask her to move into my house. We'd be moving faster than the speed of love. Please?
All right. Dang it, at this rate, my new workbench is never going to get used.
No, it got used last night.
Huh?
Right after we took a little ride on your mower.
Oh!
Season 2 has 3 feats, and a whole lot of negatives for the Billdozer. We'll start the feats off with Bill's decent on-the-fly thinking in this scene here, when he tears his Halloween costume and instantly transforms it.
Here comes the ghost! Oh! Toga!
The next feat comes from episode 2 when Bill says he gains certain powers when he dons his military garb, similar to those of Marvel superheroes.
Yep. I take on certain powers when I put on this uniform, not unlike your Marvel superheroes, like, Stretch Armstrong, Spider-Man, whatnot.
Your bat cave's open there, Bill.
Now at first I was thinking, okay, well he has the powers of Spider-Man and Stretch Armstrong, but he says what not. So I believe in this scene Bill just revealed that when wearing his military dress, he can use the powers of all Marvel superheroes, which is obviously huge. But there is a slight detail we need to remember. This episode came out in 1997, and the King of the Hill timeline basically tracks the real-world years they came out. So this means Bill can only use the powers of the Marvel heroes that were currently out in 1997. So that means no old King Phoenix Thor, no Worldbreaker Hulk, but there still are plenty of hyper-powerful Marvel characters from before 1997. And before you start commenting about how this feat alone makes Bill stronger than Hank and Dale, remember, Bill is always heavily held back by his depression, so even if he can use these powers, they're severely dampened by his mental health. The final feat is something we see multiple times throughout the series. When Bill is doing better than Hank, or really anyone in general, he loses his fear of them, and in general gets happier, and therefore stronger.
You know what I just realized? Hank hadn't caught a fish.
You looking to go for a swim, Bill?
No, you know what else I just realized? This is the first time any of us has caught more fish than Hank.
Come on, Bill, don't rub his nose in it.
But now that we've got the 3 whole feats for the season out of the way, let's talk about his weaknesses. And boy are there a lot of them. So for one, Bill was damaged by paintballs, has a bad reaction time, freezes up when he's scared, was damaged by a Hank punch, almost broke his foot by dropping a vise on it, required corrective shoes and was forced to wear dresses as a child, and most definitely seems to be a porn watcher. So yeah, those are all the quick stated weaknesses and negatives, but there is a bigger one from episode 19 when Luann's mom shows that basically any moderately attractive women are able to mind control Bill into doing whatever they want. And more specifically for this negative, Bill was physically damaged by Luann's mom. But before you say, oh yeah, Bill's weak, not even female level, remember, Luann's mom has a world record level of strength. Sounds crazy, right? But look at this scene here.
How long is she going to stay here? I am sick and tired of scrambling around to find nutritious meals that do not require a fork.
Those are 5-gallon buckets, both of which are filled with sand. The load would weigh in at about 134 pounds, not even counting the weight of the shovel or the buckets themselves. So Luann's mom is curling around 145 pounds, that's even unbalanced since the shovel's weight is so unevenly distributed, and she's doing it for multiple reps with ease. If you don't understand how impressive this is, for reference, this is Leroy Walker, the 360-pound beast who's also the current world record holder for strict curls with a 251-pound lift for 1 rep. Here's him curling 100-pound dumbbells that obviously have the weight equally distributed and are therefore easier to move. He's got decent form, swinging them kind of a lot, doing a much easier hammer variation of the curl, and here's Leanne. An extra 45 pounds, slower, more controlled reps, and most definitely a far, far lower body weight. And on top of it all, the weight is off balance, making it even harder to hold. So Leanne causing damage to Bill isn't too crazy considering he likely didn't want to hurt a woman, and she controlled him to just sit back and take it. Plus, she is inhumanly strong. So based on Bill's Marvel hero abilities and the massive amount of weaknesses, including taking damage from this unit of a woman and being an apparently avid porn collector, Bill at the end of Season 2 is at 26% of his full power, or a 12-point gain from Season 1.
What you doing there, Bill? Satellite dish trouble?
No, I'm just up here to kill myself.
What?
Oh!
No!
In Season 3, we get a lot more intimate details about Bill's extreme depression and generally bad mental health. And I'll start them off with the events of Episode 9 when Bill gets depressed over the fact his wife Lenore left him. And in response to this depression, he becomes suicidal and tries to kill himself by jumping off his roof, but only ends up with a broken arm. And him taking damage from such a minor incident makes sense, since his depression being at such a higher level is going to dampen his power even more than usual. Along with that, in Episode 9, when Hank destroys all of Lenore's old Christmas gifts, Bill has a mental breakdown and unlocks the tranny technique. While using the tranny technique, Bill wears women's clothes and genuinely believes that he's his ex-wife Lenore.
Bill, take off the dress.
Why do you keep calling me Bill? My name is Lenore, silly. I've come back because I love Bill so much.
The tranny technique is probably the worst transformation in the entire series, as it provides zero benefit or boosts of any kind. And besides the events of Episode 9, we see that Bill is still very traumatized by the beatings of old Spanky, and he sees himself as much fatter and balder than he actually is, showing he has a sadly very low self-esteem.
Oh, God, what's that under your arm?
Old Spanky. Can you believe they ever used something like this?
But along with all these mental health negatives, Season 3 also has a plentiful supply of physical weaknesses, including Bill being badly burned and left with long-lasting redness and pain from getting hit in the face with Peggy's steaming hot Frito pie.
I'm freezing.
Shut up!
And while on the topic of Peggy, she smacked him off the bleachers, which broke his arm, and her hitting Bill with a softball multiple times damaged him fairly heavily.
Oh, yeah.
I'm all right. I'm all right.
You know what? Peggy really beats the shit out of Bill in this season. And Peggy being the aggressor explains a lot of the serious damage since he's so heavily obsessed with her, and she is so extremely powerful. And when I say obsessed, he is obsessed with Peggy. He goes literally retarded as he watches her leave for the beauty pageant, and since he's so infatuated, her specifically hurting him will only intensify the damage. But yeah, this season was pretty negative for Bill's power level. Really the only positives were him showing that he was willing to steal and lie to his friends when he took the couch, the large amount of info about the Hill family he has, and the interesting ability for Bill to believe he's 100% in the right when he listens to Hank, which means he can receive a power boost by taking orders from Hank, or maybe even just people he respects in general.
You know, Bill, if I'm always speaking for you and I'm always right, that means you're always right too, doesn't it?
Well,
It does.
it does. It does. How do you like that? I'm always right.
So based off Bill's worsening mental health, all the abuse he took from Peggy, and his willingness to steal, lie, and the power boost he gets from listening to Hank, Bill at the end of Season 3 has dropped down to being at 19% of his full power, or a 7-point loss from Season 2.
Con, you touch that flag, that'll be the last thing you ever touch.
Season 4 starts off with Bill unlocking a new mode, which allowed him after an entire 25 years of no training to be able to resist 5 men attempting to hold him back after he already took some serious damage. within a few hours after sustaining this damage, he was out eating at a diner, showing he either has an amazing pain tolerance, fast regeneration, or a bit of both.
Time football. Shoot, I thought he was dead when they wheeled him off the field, but then just 2 hours later, he was eating a jalapeno cornbread at the Arroyo Diner. That man is uptown, no doubt about it.
And obviously this mode, if you didn't guess it yet, is his Bulldozer form, which essentially allows Bill to ignore pain and injury along with temporarily enhancing his stamina for a short period of time. Of course, after he comes out of Bulldozer mode, he will be a bit beat up, but still, it's an amazing trump card to pull out if a fight isn't quite going in his favor. Bill also has such an immense shitting power, he requires an extra large septic tank, meaning he defecates at a rate equivalent to multiple people, which also implies he eats a lot of food, yet still maintains his not so good figure. But since it doesn't worsen and he doesn't get fatter, I believe that Bill likely has a superhuman metabolism. So if he were to swallow an enemy, he could digest them before they could even react to try and escape his vault-like gut. In Season 4, we also get to see Patriot Mode Bill. After getting his massive American flag, Bill gets imbued with such a high level of patriotism, his insanity grows and he becomes willing to attack his neighbors to defend it. The only downside is that when the flag was damaged, he was brought to tears, which obviously worsened his depression and in turn weakened him. Bill also has an extreme respect for military rules and code, as he was unwilling to even cut hair off base, which means he'd likely be unwilling to use his Marvel hero powers for non-military sanctioned reasons.
We could do it in my garage.
Now, I'm only allowed to cut hair at the base. The U.S. Army spent $3 million training me.
Forget the Army. It'll take you 10 minutes. I'll vacuum myself.
Sorry, Hank. You got your principles, I got mine.
The final positive for Bill in Season 4 comes in the form of his 4 years of celibacy. But he misses out on any celibacy power boost since he owns a collection of porn tapes as shown in Season 2. And I'm assuming those are fairly broken in. So now that we've got all the feats out of the way, let's talk about the weaknesses and negatives. For one, I'll start them off with a half weakness. In this scene here, Bill is able to push a cart that Bobby was sitting in and Boomhauer was pushing against. Now obviously he tired out pretty fast, but this shows Bill is able to resist Bobby's Hill Clan energy field, comboed with direct force from a fellow member of the Rainy Street 4. And this kinda just confirms what I originally assumed. Bill can let off tons of power at once, but not for prolonged lengths of time unless he were to go into Bulldozer mode. And while talking about Bobby, Bill, while totally unexpected, got lassoed and taken down by, you guessed it, Bobby. But again, Bobby has some pretty high power and Bill was totally relaxed and not expecting an attack. The final two weaknesses Bill shows were, for one, his inability to do enough sit-ups to be a Marine Corps barber.
My first choice was the Marines, but I couldn't do enough sit-ups to be a Marine Corps barber. Semper Fi.
And according to military.com, you need to be able to do 44 in 2 minutes. So yeah, obviously he isn't the best athlete. And finally, Bill's foot started bleeding after a long day of carrying MetaLife boxes, but again, Bill's power and durability is more of a short-term thing. Long periods of training, fighting, or really anything will cause his power to deteriorate. And when you mix that with how harshly Peggy was degrading him all day, you've got a recipe for a bloody-footed Bulldozer.
It's my toe. I think I have a blister.
Well, if you do, it's not from carrying boxes for one day. It's from carrying that huge gut of yours around for 40 years.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So based on Bill's inability to do prolonged amounts of physical activity like sit-ups or moving boxes, comboed with his ability to hyper-metabolize and his unlocking of Patriot and Bulldozer mode, Bill at the end of Season 4 is at 23% of his full power, or a 4-point gain from Season 3.
Beefaroni's fun to eat.
Beefaroni's really neat.
Beefaroni's quite a treat. Hooray!
Yippee! For
I
beefaroni!
can't take it anymore. Nancy's gone. She is gone, and it's breaking my heart.
While it has 20 full episodes, Season 5 is a short one, and I'll start it off with the fact that Bill was able to compete with Lady Bird's strength, and the fact that he was willing to sacrifice finally having company, all for the benefit of Dale and his family. This shows that although Bill is depressed and lonely, he still would rather his friends and their families be happy than himself. And the final in the short list of feats for the season was something I found very interesting. In episode 11, Bill steps on a koi, and after stepping on the koi, he just continues to move forward.
No, I just stepped on the koi.
But how is that a feat? Anyone can stomp a fish. But if you didn't know, a koi represents courage, good fortune, and abundance. And while Bill is a cowardly, unlucky man with not exactly a lot of extra money, friends, family, really he has no abundance besides in his body fat. So I believe this is representative of Bill's ability to take a lot of damage and just bounce back. Because by killing the koi, Bill essentially hyper-worsens his courage, good fortune, and abundance. But he just keeps moving forward almost as if nothing happened. And if you really want to get into it, which you probably do since that's what these videos are about, all the damage Bill takes throughout the series, and boy does he take a lot of it, is all just brushed off. To him it means nothing, and by the next episode it's gone. And as we go farther into the series, the damage gets worse and worse. And before killing the koi, I believe he survived all of it just because of his innate durability and strength. But the later season beatings he takes, I believe he survives because of the ability he unlocks from stomping that koi. An ability that I call the Fat Man's Bypass. No matter the damage he takes, he'll be able to survive it one way or another. Now maybe he'll come out paralyzed, brain dead, or even left as a single surviving cell. I believe that using Fat Man's Bypass, Bill can survive anything that gets thrown at him. And the only way he could truly die is if he decided to let it happen, and he were to kill himself.
What you doing there, Bill? Satellite dish trouble?
No, I'm just up here to kill myself.
But now that we've discussed the feats, let's discuss the weaknesses Bill shows in Season 5, starting with him being knocked down by his ex-wife Lenore's whore aura, or as it's more warmly known in the Powerscaling community, Hora.
Hi, Bill.
Lenore.
Essentially, the immense negative emotion she caused towards Bill weakened him so greatly his body literally could not continue to stay active. Along with how damaging her aura was, Bill was also really easily manipulated by Lenore, showing once again how easily manipulated he can be by even moderately attractive women.
I miss you too. What are you wearing? Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. That's a lot of clothes. Oh, okay then, General. I'm glad you enjoyed your haircut. Yes, sir. Talk to you later. I love you.
Season 5 also really shows off Bill's general stupidity when he was worried about flooding the engine of a car that had been at the bottom of a quarry for over 20 years.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
You're flooding it.
Yeah. And obviously, since he wasn't born in Texas, that will result in a minor power drop since he doesn't have that home field advantage. But still, the power drop is minor, because at least it isn't New York. Hank. So based on Bill's selflessness for his friends, his unbelievably powerful Fat Man's Bypass ability that makes him nearly unkillable, and the weaknesses like his genuine stupidity and how easily he's manipulated by his ex-wife, and women in general, I'd say at the end of Season 5, Bill is already at 64% of his full power, or an insane 41-point increase from Season 4.
Now here's trailer number 7. We gotta go talk to Bug.
No, you go ahead, Hank. Boomhauer and I are going to go out in the parking lot and make out. We're both men. We're both men.
Don't dream, man. You know how I roll, man. Jerks.
Season 6 is one filled with some amazing durability feats for Bill, and I'll start them off with him taking no lasting damage from a Dale kick to the old family jewels, and the same mild reaction to Dale hitting Bill in the back of the knees, which he brushed off like nothing. And weirdly enough, Bill has 2 examples of him surviving explosions in this season. The first of which being him absolutely brushing off Mad Dog's cabin exploding while he was directly inside.
Nice work, Dale.
Wait a minute. Did we untie Bill?
I'm okay. I just fell in the hole again.
And then probably the best durability feat in the entire season, if not the entire series, when he survives a massive mortar shell explosion while inside said exploded tank.
Fire in the hole!
Bill!
No, Bill, man!
He's gone. Bill? You're alive. You made it out in time.
Somehow, I got blowed out by the explosion.
Now he was left with a black eye, scratches, a shattered hand, and temporary stupidity along with some minor lasting damage. Nonetheless, while totally wasted, he managed to survive this huge attack. But along with all these durability feats, there are also some shows of his durability getting totally shit on. For one, Dale's pet falcon left Bill with some serious and lasting damage multiple times, but then again, it's Dale's falcon. Really, anything that belongs to Dale is going to be receiving some kind of power leech. It's likely unintentional, but it still occurs from deep within Dale's subconscious. We see another example of this when Joseph slings a lacrosse ball and just decimates Bill from the neck up, leaving him with 2 black eyes, a concussion, and a broken nose.
And then...
That was pretty funny. Tell it again.
I'm okay. Because I can't taste the thing with this broken nose.
It's macaroni and cheese, Bill.
Oh. Hot baby!
But remember the Dale power leech, and it's likely even greater for who he believes to be his only beloved son, who he of course wants to keep safe, and is going to do so by filling him up with massive amounts of raw energy. In episode 17, Bill reveals that he can't kill something that's tickled him, which means if he was fighting an opponent and they sped around with a feather, Bill would be unable to kill them. He also reveals that, at least relative to Boomhauer, he is extremely bad at sex. But then again, aren't we all bad at sex when compared to the Casanova himself? With those basset hound eyes. And finally, we see another example of Bill's insane stupidity when it's shown he needs to be looked after so he doesn't swallow some coins like an infant. Which is just a perfect example of Flanderization. So based on Bill's survival of multiple explosions, beatings from Dale, and all the super negative damage he took this season, Bill at the end of Season 6 is at a respectable 73% of his full power, or a 9-point gain from Season 5.
Now focus all your energy on this card and it will foretell your future. The 10 of Swords. It means advantage, profit, success.
Well, hey, that's great. Things have been going pretty well for me. You know, with my girlfriend Leoma and...
Oh, wait. It's upside down. That means something. Pain, affliction, tears, sadness, desolation.
In Season 7, we see an array of situations where Bill is terrified, or at the very least scared. The things that scare him include his Rottweiler, Hank's rage, a person who he thought was Chuck Mangione, Dale when he had his revolver pointed at him, and the general situation when he was stuck floating around for a couple days on a homemade weather balloon chair. Along with all this fear and terror that Bill experiences, he also shows some other feats of weakness. The first being the fact that sand hurt Bill when it got in his eye, but it wasn't really injured. It was more of a natural response to particulates getting in a sensitive exposed organ. We also get to see that Bill was left limping and tired after going a few days without food, water, and being beaten down by a gang of Mexicans.
Oh, no.
Oh, no! Quit it! No!
Your turn.
But even after this South American smackdown, Bill still has a net gain for the season thanks to the massive feats he gets later on, which I'll start off with the fact that Bill is able to injure Hank.
I'm gonna go out there and try to pry that tire off Bill. I'll probably get kicked and scratched in the process, but that's what friends do.
So as we see here, Hank himself outright states that when he goes to help Bill, Bill will inflict minor damage and injury against him, despite the fact that Hank is expecting said damage, and therefore will have some defenses up. We also get to see Bill totally stop a full force punch with one hand no difficulty, and a moment later he goes on to hold back 3 grown men while carrying out orders. Along with Bill's physical strength greatly improving in Season 7, we also get to see the other aspects of Bill's body like his amazing sense of smell. Bill was able to smell the gas leak from Hank's house while inside his own home.
What in the hell is going on?
I smelled something coming from your house. Not the usual smell of cooking, pine cleaner, happiness. It was gas!
Gas? Oh my God, the water heater!
With a sniffer like that, Bill could smell the salt and a bead of sweat mid-battle to determine how nervous an opponent is. It's also shown that Bill's stamina has improved greatly as he was able to maintain a full-on sprint in work boots. Now this could mean that with proper motivation like love and happiness, Bill can push the scale on how long he can keep going, or he's just in general increased his stamina, and I'm gonna say it's a bit of both. So Bill's running for love reinforces the idea that depending on the emotions he's feeling, Bill can be strengthened, like when he was running to see Khan's mom, or weakened, like when he was getting laughed at during the hot dog eating contest in episode 2.
Is he? Is he? He is! He's quitting! All right, Bill!
No! Come on, Bill! USA! USA?
Hank, I'm full.
I know, buddy. Just another 15 dogs.
But they're laughing at me. Do I have to keep doing this?
So based on the terror Bill faces throughout the season, his ability to damage Hank, his greatly enhanced stamina, and his powerful sense of smell, Bill at the end of Season 7 is at 86% of his full power, or a 13-point gain from Season 6.
Yeah, Coach's special vitamins really did the trick. I broke my leg going for a touchdown, and I didn't realize it for 2 days. Took 7 police officers to get me into that ambulance.
In Season 8, we see one of the most interesting forms in the entire series, Homo Mode, or Ho Mode for short. While trying to act gay for his job at the salon, Bill becomes physically smaller. Even in what look to be 6-inch platform shoes, he still stands at 5'8". So in this form, basically all Bill gains is looking gay. He just looks gay and is a whole lot shorter. And he can't even maintain this form very well because a single compliment from an attractive woman makes him so inhumanly horny, he snaps out of it and turns normal again.
Oh, your aura's so warm. It's a shame you're gay.
I'm not gay! No, I'm not gay. We can be together. You and me are kindred souls.
You're not gay?
100% into ladies.
But besides his homosexual hindrances, Bill has plenty of other weaknesses for Season 8, which all start off with the fact that Bill was knocked out by strikes in the head from a normal old trash can lid. And in the same episode, Bill unlocks a garbage armor mode. In this mode, Bill loses a large amount of maneuverability, but in return he gains a higher defense, punching power, and is more confident against Mighty Knight Dale.
You can't kick Rainy Street around anymore.
Oh, sweet, stupid Bill.
The mission has started. Victory.
Bill, roll me over so I can kick your ass!
We also see another example of how women make Bill lose sight of his goals and can even manipulate him when a hippie woman catches Bill's eye. When this happens, we also get to see Energy Turtle, Bill's hippie alter ego where he's covered in a thick layer of mud and is in general more in tune with nature and with hippies.
You can't speak unless you got the feather.
Oh, Bill.
Hey, Hank. My new name is Energy Turtle. I've found myself.
So what does Energy Turtle give Bill, really? Well, nothing. He might be a better tracker in the wild, but is also likely a pacifist, meaning he'll refuse to enter into a fight or any physical combat in general. And while on the topic of nature, rain. Rain gives Bill a heavy weakness debuff since it depresses him so heavily. It actually depresses him so much that he was willing to kill himself via drowning, and had he not taken Texas history, he also would have killed himself.
I truly believe that if I hadn't taken Texas history, I'd be dead by my own hand.
Not sure how Texas history stopped that, but yeah. The final negatives for the season come from episode 11 when he collapses after getting hit in the balls, and in episode 16 when Cotton was able to tie up and torture Bill. But then again, Cotton is a member of the Hill Clan, so he's definitely up there in terms of power. But with all that out of the way, we can finally get into the feats of power for this season. I'll start them off with the fact that Bill was able to repeatedly take whips from cactuses while moving probably around 65 miles per hour.
Can you see now, Hank? Ow! Can ya? Ow! How about now? Ow! Ow! Ow!
And despite the prickly plant and high speed, Bill had absolutely zero lasting damage. In the same episode, Bill also showed his strength when he stops the weight of the antique furniture as it slid backwards out of the semi-truck.
It's working! It's working!
The final two feats for the season come in the form of Bill eating when he's scared, which I can only assume causes his metabolism to speed up. And if that is the case, if he were to get intimidated by an opponent, he could possibly just eat the opponent and digest them quickly with his sped up metabolism. And finally, we learned that while hopped up on Go pills, high school Bill didn't notice his leg was broken for 2 days, and to take him down with that broken leg, it took 7 cops. So based on Bill's multitude of horrible new forms, increased homosexuality, rain-related weakness, and his ability to withstand 65 mile/hour cactus whips, Bill at the end of Season 8 is at 76% of his full power, or a 10-point loss from Season 7. Sorry Bill, all these crappy new forms and gay sex is gonna do a serious number on your power level.
I'm still hungry. You want to do another lap?
Interest you fellas in a fried banana?
You can fry a banana, but it's fruit.
Here, just try one.
Oh, this banana's delicious. The monkeys must never find out.
Season 9. A short season with a list of feats that's even shorter. The first one I'll talk about being Buster the dog. After joining the military pet adoption program, Bill gets to care for Buster the dog. Owning Buster causes Bill's stamina to increase and makes him exponentially more happy. And as we know with Bill, the more depressed he is, the weaker and more limited his power level. So as he gets happier and in turn less depressed, he becomes far more powerful. Along with that, Buster is also said to help Bill deal with higher G-force, which also implies that Buster, in general, can make Bill more durable.
Army Sergeant Bill Dautrive relinquishing command of Buster.
On behalf of myself and the crew of the USS Eisenhower, I say thank you.
Wow.
How you getting home, Sergeant? You ever pulled 2 Gs? Don't worry, Buster'll sit on your lap.
Had Bill kept Buster permanently, his power level would no doubt go up 10, 20, 30, maybe even 100 times. Because remember, Bill has the potential to be top 2 or 3 in the verse, but his massive depression holds him back quite a bit. So if Bill could have Buster, a loving wife, a family, and a full head of hair, he would definitely be top 3, likely even top 2 in the verse. But we'll still need to see where he'll end up because we've got another 4 seasons to go through. Besides Buster, we have the fact that Bill was the only member of the Rainy Street 4 to move out of the way when Cotton fired his rifle.
Not enough for you?
Shut up, Bill. You've said that 3 times. What the dang?
So Bill's fearful nature can be a weakness, but in terms of getting attacked, it can be a strength since he's more prone to attempt to dodge and not waste durability and energy just absorbing or blocking an attack. And now that we've discussed all those cool things, we have some weaknesses and just general negatives for Season 9. And these negatives include things like Bill's fear of bees, the injury he received from a jackhammer to the balls, fire, being thrown off a cliff, and receiving a beating from 2 large, presumably Mexican men. We also see another example for the millionth time of how Bill is manipulated and generally weak against women, especially attractive ones.
Bill, an attractive man like yourself.
Bye!
Congratulations! I think you'll find... Oh, it seems this card has been denied.
I got other cards. Do you take Blockbuster? Oh, wait! I forgot about this, baby. It has no credit limit.
And for me, the most interesting but momentarily disheartening moment of what I thought was weakness was when Bill reveals that he was pronounced legally dead after eating 50 potatoes.
So then Cotton says, I bet Fatty here can eat 50 potatoes. And the bartender said, no way, which of course was a terrible insult to the Colonel's honor. Long story short, I was pronounced legally dead. But it was a heck of a weekend.
Yeah, it was it.
But wait, Bill is the human disposal, the red-hot core that can melt down anything edible or not into a sludge he can easily digest. So how does something as simple as 50 potatoes kill him? Well, it didn't. He was pronounced legally dead, but he wasn't dead. Plenty of people get pronounced legally dead, but aren't actually deceased and in the afterlife. So what does legally dead even mean then? Well, legally dead means you were confirmed dead by a doctor, you had your corpse identified by family or friend, or you went through serious peril, like a plane crash, and weren't found for at least 7 years. So obviously Bill didn't go missing for 7 years, and his corpse likely wasn't identified in a morgue. So for him to have been legally dead, a doctor must have confirmed he was dead. And doctors can make mistakes. But for him to be confirmed dead, Bill's brain function had to have completely and entirely stopped. So Bill being confirmed dead by a doctor is the most likely option of what happened out of all 3. But how? How did 50 potatoes stop Bill's brain function so the doctor could reasonably pronounce him as dead? Well, here's what I believe happened. Solanine. Solanine is a chemical present in very low levels in potatoes and their skin, but in aged green potatoes the levels are far higher and therefore far more lethal. And since Bill is a bumbling fat clown to Cotton, I wouldn't doubt he'd have him eat 50 green potatoes so him, and likely some onlookers, could laugh and marvel at their human pig. But again, how does something as simple as 50 green potatoes kill the human garbage disposal? Well, according to Alexander Pavlista of UNL, a 100-pound person who ate 1 pound of fully green potatoes would ingest enough solanine to become ill. And Bill ate 50 of these fully green potatoes.
50 potatoes!
And since this is Texas, I'm gonna assume these are Texas-sized spuds. And a large potato is any potato weighing over 0.61 pounds. But these aren't just large potatoes, they're Texas-sized. Let's say these bad boys are a solid 1.22 pounds each. Double the minimum to be considered large, but right at the minimum to be considered Texas-sized. So multiply 1.22 by 50 and you've got 61 pounds of green potato, which has a grand total of 4,149 milligrams of solanine, or enough to kill a nearly 3,050-pound man. And based off body composition and height, I estimate Bill to be around 250 pounds. So with this new information, we now know that in this scene, Bill just admitted that he took in over 12 times the lethal dose of solanine. So in response to this dose of solanine, Bill's body completely diverted all of its power from the brain and nervous system to places like the liver and stomach. His body also completely stopped blood flow to assure that the solanine doesn't start to pour into other vital parts of the body. So because of all these factors, he appears dead with no pulse or brain function, but his body is actually hyper-processing and eliminating deathly levels of solanine, once again showing off his powerful detoxification powers and cementing Bill's insane durability. Yeah. So thanks to Bill's impressive survival of far beyond lethal doses of solanine, his increased power boost from Buster the dog, and the mile-long list of weaknesses, Bill at the end of Season 9 is at 88% of his full power, or a 12-point gain from Season 8.
Well, I appreciate that, fellas.
I have a confession too, Hank. In a moment of weakness on a dark, rainy night, I slept with Peggy.
No, you didn't, Bill.
I know.
Here in Season 10, we get another example of Bill's body being able to resist major damage from the inside out. But before we get into that, let's see the negative damage Bill faces throughout the season, which will start off with this.
This hard hat is my armor. When you're working construction, your head is still your most valuable tool, so you've got to protect it.
Huh. Bill, get ready. I'm bunting.
I'm gonna get you!
It's as good as I remember.
Yep. Dale flinging a shovel at Bill damaged him. Dale bunting a ball at Bill's face also damaged him. But besides that, we don't see any other physical negatives. Just mental ones. The first one I'll talk about is another example of Bill's weakness to women when he said he was willing and basically would be happy to date a prostitute.
If I'd been around back then, maybe I would have rescued one of those tea-kettling ladies, and she would have been grateful and lived on a farm with me for a few years till she ran away with a traveling preacher.
He also goes on to show in the same episode how knowledgeable he is on porn stars and the porn industry in general, and obviously a grown man, or really any kind of quote-unquote man supporting porn and prostitutes, huge negative and huge degenerate.
I want you all to meet the man who made it possible for me to be here tonight, Hank Hill.
Hank?
Who's he? Is that her first director?
No, that would be Nicholas Ruggles.
So these two things alone deteriorate both Bill's power and society. We also get to hear about how he had gotten nightmares from how bad he was beaten by the Ace of Diamonds, and that just shows how mentally weak Bill is. That losing a battle which incurred basically zero physical damage can mentally haunt him afterwards.
Thank God it's finally over. Of course, there will always be the nightmares.
Ugh. Can't believe Bill's a coomer. But anyway, now that we've already discussed the weaknesses, let's discuss Bill's strengths for this season. In the same episode, we see that Bill had received positive mojo from the Mojo Gods. And we see again that Bill can be strengthened by motivation and commands. Here, specifically, it was from Hank, but I wouldn't doubt that anyone motivating him could do the trick since he does get stronger the happier he is. And of course, love and support makes anyone happy.
Come on, go, go! Ready, set, rock!
Believe to achieve! Believe to achieve!
The final feat we see in Season 10 comes from Episode 3, when the Hills get infected with the legendary planet-ending virus I talked about in the Hank Powerscale. As we see here, Bill with no treatment or medicine manages to not just survive the virus, but not even catch it. Which means Bill's body was able to resist the virus so amazingly, he didn't even catch it while being in direct contact with all 3 sick Hills. So Bill's body was either able to totally prevent the virus from entering at all, which means he has some kind of force field or constant outward air pressure around his body, or he was just simply able to kill the virus as soon as it entered, which shows some seriously powerful resistance to any kind of sickness or virus. I'm gonna assume it's the latter and say Bill just has a hyper resistance to all forms of disease. So based on Bill's ability to avoid any and all types of sickness, his motivational power boost, and all the mojo he gained from the Mojo Gods, this would definitely be a knockout of a season. But since Bill reveals that he's for 1, a porn lover, and for 2, a prostitute sympathizer, well that mixed with all the damage Dale threw at him and his loss-induced nightmares, Bill at the end of Season 10 is at 80% of his full power, or an 8-point loss from Season 9.
People aren't really comfortable using the gym anymore.
There's nothing comfortable about getting shredded, Hank. What you're not comfortable with is hard work and pain. It's because all you people are lazy.
Now, hold on.
Prove me wrong, little man. Why don't you hit the bench?
I'm not getting on the god-dang bench, Bill. Quit being a jackass.
I'll tell you what. Why don't you Smurfs start your own gym across the way? These look about your size.
You're a jerk, Bill. Just forget it. You can keep your weights.
Don't take it personal. He's just jealous of your juicy rip.
Season 11 starts off with an interesting feat of how disgusting Bill's body is when we hear this.
Hey, Hank Hill. Snake scandal devalue my property more than Dautrive sunbathing on front lawn. It's true. I checked.
So Bill sunbathing, not even naked while in his front lawn, can devalue a neighborhood more than the believed risk of a giant 6-foot snake crawling through your toilet, which I can only assume means that if Bill were to get totally naked, he could likely stun, if not damage an opponent with how horribly repulsive his nude body must be. We then get to see a huge but temporary power boost from the short-lived joy of the relationship between Bill and Reverend Stroop, until of course Bill stops enjoying her company and breaks up with her.
I don't want her in my house!
What?
I thought I wanted her, but that was when our relationship was exciting and taboo, like Romeo and Juliet. Now we're just a normal, boring couple, and Juliet put all these weird little snow babies all over my house!
But then the real feat for this season comes in the second to last episode. After Bill needs to pass his army physical, he starts to get into weightlifting, and after meeting 3 massive juiced-up bodybuilders, they reveal to us that Bill is able to put on super physiological amounts of muscle mass in 6 weeks. We can assume he was totally natural, but who knows if we're being honest. Because these guys, well, I shouldn't have to say it, but they are most definitely on steroids. And I wouldn't doubt they'd be more than willing to juice up Bill as their own little personal project. But considering how high Bill's body fat is, the sudden heavy lifting, increased caloric intake, I wouldn't doubt that Bill just has a naturally superhuman level of muscle growth.
There are genetic elites out there, unfortunately, that for people who might be jealous of it or whatever, that's sort of just the cards you are dealt in some cases. This guy has top 0.01% genetics, in my opinion.
But now that we've got his positive feats out of the way, let's get into the weaknesses seen in this season, which include Bill's fear of mice, the fact he constantly has a ringing in his ear which could affect his focus in battle, and the damage Bill receives from bedbug bites.
So you've, got bed bugs?
It was only a matter of time.
Man, you look just like a guy like a dang old leopard, man. You talking about don't make me itch, man. Ugh, man.
Also, Bill began to cry at the mere mention of having sons, because he doesn't have any. No bitches. So based off Bill's home devaluing level of disgustingness, super physiological level of muscle growth, he stands to gain a decent amount of power this season, but his power level is still negatively affected by the fear of mice, tinnitus, damage from bed bugs, and his depression that got heavily worsened by a lack of children.
You're fine, right, Bill?
I wish I had a son to pass things down to.
Boomhauer, can you get him a... Dang it.
So Bill at the end of Season 11 is only at 85% of his full power, or a 5-point gain from Season 10.
Ma'am.
That right there! That's why Europe hate us!
I'm gonna start Season 12 with a feat that every member of the Rainy Street 4 has gone through, that being the shed-destroying explosion of Episode 5. And just like Hank, Bill was totally undamaged, but still scared by it.
It's a really good shed, Hank.
Yeah, man, it's like dang old tribute, man.
Yep.
I guess it was a sissy shack after all.
We also hear from Dale about how well insulated Bill is, making him the go-to guy for any cold-related issues, which definitely indicates that Bill can handle immensely high levels of frost. Bill himself then states that he's gone through 4 of the last hose you'll ever need hoses, which means that Bill has superhuman grip strength that destroys these hoses, which are meant to last about 80 years in a far shorter time period. Either that or they're false advertising, and well, why would a business ever lie to us? And here in this scene, we see that Bill can be calmed down with food. So if Bill were to keep a Ziploc baggie full of tasty treats, he'd be able to calm his nerves and better his focus mid-battle.
We're gonna be all right. We're gonna be all right.
One of the final feats I have for Season 12 comes from one of his new forms. Heatwaver mode was unlocked in Episode 4 of the season, and well, it looks like Bill could be damaged by normal old sunburn. But this is just Bill's new form, where he basically drops his defenses to near nothing, but in return he can make even the biggest assholes a little bit nicer.
Amazing news just in from the Slappy van. The Heatwaver is back! The Heatwaver is back!
There just might be hope for this town after all.
So Bill could go into Heatwaver mode and just absolutely hyper drop his pain tolerance and mobility to take the chance, really the risk, of making an enemy befriend him. Of course he would be super vulnerable to even light attacks while trying to do so. And finally we hear about lightning in a bottle. Here in episode 9, when the gang, minus Hank and Dale, but plus Con and Peggy, are trying to go YouTube famous, Peggy asks,
"You are trying to capture lightning in a bottle. Do you know how hard that is?"
And Bill responds with, okay, let me just show you the scene.
Are you boys still at it? You are trying to capture lightning in a bottle. Do you know how hard that is?
Really hard.
That is why I am going to help you.
So Bill in this scene admits that he was able to literally catch lightning in a bottle, but with a very high level of difficulty. What does this mean? Well, for one, let's talk about what a lightning bolt really is. Well, a lightning bolt, according to the Exchange Utility Company of the UK, produces about 1 billion joules of energy, which would be equivalent to just about 526 pounds of TNT. And Bill, using a bottle, was able to contain and capture all of that energy. How did he do that? Well, I'm assuming it was something like this. Bill holds onto the bottle, and as all those joules of energy enter it, he holds the bottle together and essentially lets all the energy condense inside. Pretty freaking impressive, and one of the more exact and definitive feats we get in the show. But not that exact, because it could have been a massive bolt that was 5 billion joules, or a tiny bolt that was 5 million. But yeah, Bill could handle 1 billion joules of energy, but not very easily. Like he said himself, it was really hard. Not impossibly hard or excruciatingly difficult, just really hard. So let's assume this is fairly close to Bill's maximum, not durability but more strength, because I feel the hard part of containing the lightning in said bottle would be assuring the bottle doesn't shatter, not that he doesn't shatter. But now that we've gone through the strengths and positive for this season, let's go through all the weaknesses and negatives. For one, Bill was terrified by the bat-wielding Barry Rollins. But then again, he had just gone through the full Sigma Male movie collection and was likely giving that aura off, which of course would freak anyone out when the full spiritual pressure of a Sigma Male is approaching them.
Pushed too far. Pushed too far.
Hi, it's Hank. Remember me? Look, since you keep dodging me, you've left me no choice. I'm coming over, and we'll settle this face to face.
Yeah! Face to face with these!
And we learn that Bill is weirdly scared of balloons. And floss. He also blindly listens to the government at every turn.
I'm just glad the government is keeping me safe. Now I can snack my way to a healthier me. You don't have to worry about me anymore, Hank. The government is doing that now.
So Bill Dautrive would definitely have gotten his boosters. Couldn't be me though. So based on Bill's huge durability feats like containing 1 billion joules of power, his new amazing form which gives him a knockoff version of Tak no Jutsu, and the new weaknesses which include balloons. So you know, keep Bill away from the Macy's Day Parade. But yeah, with everything accounted for, Bill at the end of Season 12 is already at 100% of his full power, or a 15-point gain from Season 11.
Check out these handsome fellas.
Look how happy I was there. That little guy didn't know it was gonna hit him.
Season 13 was one that I found thoroughly disappointing in terms of feats. It had a grand total of 3, most of which aren't all that big, and along with them we get a long list of weaknesses and negatives. Ugh. Let's get into it. So to start off Season 13, I'll let you guys know the 3 semi-decent feats Bill has for the season. The first being from the finale of the entire series, when Bill basically outright says he's gotten magnitudes better at living with depression.
Nope, he's been swallowed whole by soul-sucking depression.
Yep, he reminds me of me when I was just starting out. You've got a long way to go.
And besides that, the final 2 feats are decent and combat related. For one, he was totally unfazed by a sucker punch from Dale and basically took 0 damage, but you know, Bill is a tank with an amazing durability. And a few episodes earlier, Bill was taking a flag football game extremely seriously and went all out on Hank, who was taking the game as lightly as humanly possible. And because of the disparity of how serious the two were taking the game, Bill shattered Hank's nose.
Okay, they on 21 out of the holic deck number 38 glad red red blue kind of and hike.
Protect the quarterback!
He actually broke it so badly, even a light touch knocked Hank out from the pain. Even with how serious Bill was going and how little Hank cared, this still is an amazing feat of strength that shows Bill really is easily top 5 in the verse. But sadly, this one feat alone isn't enough to stop the tsunami-sized wave of damning negatives we're about to see, and I'll start them off with this.
Go a little slower with the junk food, Bill. Bill? Bill?
Yeah, Bill was totally incapacitated by a blood sugar spike and even hospitalized twice in a 1-week span. Of course, Bill does manage to get back into normal levels, but in all reality, he totally stopped working out after this episode and likely returned to that easily taken down state. Which means if an opponent could force some sugar down his greasy maw, they could easily take Bill down with a blood sugar spike. We also learned that Bill's head started to swell from stress, which obviously isn't good.
My head feels funny. Does it look swollen to you? Probably just the stress of this whole ordeal.
In a super high stress situation, like a, I don't know, fight to the death, there's a good possibility that Bill's head would swell up and possibly kill him, or at the very least hinder his fighting abilities. And like a 1-2 punch to the skull, we learned Bill was labeled dull normal and was badly damaged by good old-fashioned pepper spray.
I was evaluated when I joined the military. The test said I was dull normal.
So the one of this 1-2 punch was Bill being labeled dull normal by the US government. And according to a quick Google search, dull normal is an IQ between 80 and 90. And Bill is very stupid, so I'm gonna assume he's working with an 80-point high IQ. And the 2 of this 1-2 punch is surprising. Normal old pepper spray did damage to Bill that lasted for multiple hours.
So, what's the plan, Dale?
The old distressed motorist routine. We'll tell Wesley our van is broken. He'll undoubtedly invite us in to use the phone, and then offer us a cup of cocoa, giving Hank plenty of time to secure the Rogue brothers.
Yo, man, heads up. Here's Leon to come, man.
Excuse me.
This right here shows that Bill's regenerative ability is definitely worse than Hank's. In Season 2, Hank took a blast of 50% capsaicin spray and recovered in a matter of seconds, while Bill from what's at most 3% capsaicin pepper spray was left damaged and hurt for multiple hours. But I won't judge him or the other 2 members of the Rainy Street 4 too harshly on this, since it was very unexpected and they likely didn't have any defenses up. We see another negative for Bill's regenerative abilities when after a couple days of heavy drinking and partying, he was left on the ground beat up and feeling horrible, which implies his body's gotten weaker since Season 1. He could have drinking a block party's worth of margaritas and been fine.
Oh yeah! Come join the block party. Have at least one margarita before Bill finishes them all.
It's not margarita, okay? It's margarita.
And the final negative for Season 13 comes from Episode 22 when Bill gets dropped down to the bottom of the totem pole in his own house and is basically unwilling to do anything about it himself.
It's fake vodka. Now I'm ready to crash.
No! I'm putting my foot down. Yuri, Carl, I want you both out. Katie, I still want to live with you, but you need a better attitude.
We split different. Everybody stay. Even you.
This whole situation really just showed that Bill is not a very dominant person, and even got worse from Season 1. But things like this can be overcome with Bill's new form, Volunteer Mode. In Volunteer Mode, Bill gets so insanely cocky and big-headed that he's not even scared of Hank anymore.
You think I'm unfair, Hank? Just be glad I'm allowing you contact with Bobby at all.
Okay, that does it. I have had it with you. Now, do you have somewhere to be? 'Cause I'd like to know what direction I should kick your ass in.
I have to go anyway. It's almost time for the game. And unlike some people, I'm allowed to be there. Oh, guess what? Bobby's starting today. Too bad you can't see it.
The only problem here is that Bill would likely rush headlong against any opponent, even those far stronger than him. But for any opponents even slightly weaker than Bill, this confidence boost is going to make killing them even easier. But yeah, based on Bill's damage to Hank, brushing off of a very light Dale punch, and the long list of negatives that include pepper spray damage, a low IQ, how easily he was baited down and kept out of his own home, and many, many more, Bill at the end of Season 13 is somehow at 98% of his full power, or a 2-point drop from Season 12. Which cements Bill as the only character in the series thus far that isn't at his max power in the series finale. And just like Hank, Bill didn't really have any feats in ads or non-canon stuff, besides him being able to exist in the same general area as the Silver Surfer, and that doesn't really do anything for him. But now that we've gone season by season, let's do a full recap of Bill's abilities and powers. So before I recap Bill, since I recapped Hank and Dale off the strongest we ever saw them, this recap will also be based off Bill at the strongest we ever saw him, aka the happiest we ever saw him, which is arguably Season 12, Episode 12, specifically for the small period of time when Bill first started living with his girlfriend Catherine and her 2 kids. Because throughout the series, Bill occasionally gets his insecurities solved, his obesity, lack of love, lack of children, and so on. But here in this episode, Bill gets the most important ones filled for a short period of time. Those being love, children, and company. You can call me gay and stupid in the comments, but that's what I think.
That would make me happy. Or should I say, gay.
Yeah, man. Good one, man.
So yeah, Bill has some insane depression, the ability to use pre-97 Marvel hero powers, an amazing pain tolerance, super powerful regeneration, hypermetabolism, his fat man's bypass ability, a beastly durability being able to survive huge explosions, massive amounts of toxins, and a powerful immune system that can destroy viruses that even knocked Hank out of commission. Along with that stuff, he also has a super physiological level of muscle growth and his overall tankiness, and that's what we see in Bill at the most powerful he's ever been.
You know, Hank and me, we used to go bowling, and I'd tell people we were brothers and he was better than me, but he'd let me win sometimes, and we'd stay out way too late, and maybe if you bought him another bowling ball, it'd be like before Peggy came.
So in terms of durability, Bill can survive suicide attempts, lethal doses of solanine, planet-ending viruses without even getting infected, medium and large-size explosions with absolutely zero damage, and attacks from both Hank and Dale on numerous occasions. I would say a lowball of what Bill could survive is 2 to 3 of the bombs dropped in Hiroshima, but we need to remember Bill's fat man's bypass ability, which allows him to survive anything, at least by some measure. So a lowball of what Bill could survive is an infinite amount of the bombs dropped in Hiroshima. Of course, after a certain number of bombs, the pain of being repeatedly destroyed only to start regenerating again from a single cell, Bill might just kill himself to get it over with, but I'm not sure what number of bombs it would be. Bill's lived his entire life filled with pain and anguish, so whatever that number is, it is definitely high. In terms of killing power, Bill can use his disgusting body and all the powers of pre-1997 Marvel superheroes. Along with all that, Bill could definitely cause mass suicide with the general aura of sadness he gives off when he gets into his higher level of depression.
Help me. Hank, help me look for Lenore.
Considering Bill's depression limiter is heavily removed, he could probably utilize a lot of his power in this state. But sadly, his main article of killing is very limited, because as you remember, he can only use those Marvel superhero abilities when he's in his military garb. And if you remember again from when Bill refused to cut Hank's hair off base, Bill has major respect for military laws. So unless he was directed by a high-ranking military official to kill as many people as possible, he'd never do that. But wait. Season 12, Episode 12 came out in 2008, so that episode takes place in 2008. And since the Iraq and Afghanistan war were both going on in 2008, Bill definitely could have been ordered to eliminate as many Iraqis and Afghanis as possible. And both those countries' populations in 2008 combined were a little over 56 million people. And honestly, I have zero doubt in my mind that using his depression aura, some Marvel hero powers, and his raw strength, Bill could wipe out the entirety of Iraq and Afghanistan's population, only to be promptly court-martialed for killing innocents. The final stat we have to review is Bill's destructive power. At his maximum because of Bill's insane physical strength and Marvel superhero powers, if Bill were given orders by a general or commander-in-chief to do so, I think at most Bill could totally destroy 2 to 3 of our moons, or a small planet maybe half the size of Earth.
I am Mighty Thor!
So yeah, Bill can do some pretty amazing stuff, and of course it would all be exponentially higher if he were to somehow reach a maximum possible happiness through something like a direct serotonin drip into his brain. But sadly, Bill is always going to be held back by his depression. Even if he were to start taking serotonin to increase his happiness, over time there's the very high possibility that his body becomes desensitized to it and leaves him even more depressed and even weaker than ever before. But now that we know all the things that Bill can do, how about we go through some popular anime and pop fiction characters, and then we'll discuss if and how Bill can beat them.
Take it easy, friend. Aren't we all just here to rock? Boomhauer! Get Hank out of here!
Our first battle is one of parallels. Fat versus Fat. Pig God, a man with a digestive power possibly more powerful than that of Bill's. He can even grow to be over 30 feet tall to swallow larger prey, but Pig God is remarkably slow and unagile, even more so than Bill. And even if Pig God somehow managed to get Bill in his gut, he could just start eating him from the inside out, or even just letting off physical strikes to kill him, since Bill's strength is so much greater than Pig God's durability. So despite his astoundingly powerful stomach, Pig God still loses to the God of Pigs. Up next we've got Sakura from the globally popular series Naruto. Now the battle will turn out differently depending on Sakura's age. For example, if she was under 18, as we saw in the season 13 episode, Lucky See, Monkey Do, if a girl is under 18 or really even young in general, Bill loses all attraction for them.
Jane?
Bill? You didn't tell me you were so old.
You didn't tell me you were so young.
I'm not young. I'm 17.
I'm just gonna drive home now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if Sakura was, say, in the 20 and under age range, Bill would just smack her around and be done with it. But if she was 33 like she is in Boruto, Bill wouldn't be able to fight back at all, since as we saw multiple times throughout the series, even moderately attractive women can get Bill to do whatever they want, including give up and lose a fight. Now we've got a curveball, the one below all, a being of ultimate power who can do essentially whatever it pleases. And as one of the most powerful characters in Marvel, and fiction in general, it can actually break Bill's Fat Man's bypass ability. Now, as I explained, the Fat Man's bypass ability makes it so Bill can get through anything, surviving at least technically. Now, using just its raw power, the one below all would obliterate Bill into a single living cell. Actually, not even that. It would leave Bill lower than a cell. It would leave Bill as a quark, no more than a fractional electric charge of his life force. But how can the one below all beat Bill's special ability to actually win this fight? Well, the one below all has the ability to summon beings called Clip-Offs. Clip-Offs. Q-Lippets. Q-Dogs. Clippies. Clippies can take the form of people's loved ones to torment them. Basically, the one below all would cause Bill such utter torment he would become so depressed he'd totally die off in the only way possible allowed by the Fat Man's bypass. Suicide. So yeah, Bill gets stomped with absolutely zero difficulty. The last versus battle I'll discuss is one I'm sure a lot of you were thinking about. Two men, both absolute patriots for their homeland, both with goals that they must complete by any means necessary. Who is this mystery man that Bill will have to face off with? Commander Irwin Smith. Now, both physically and mentally, they are total opposites. Bill is short, fat, balding with dark-colored both hair and eyes. Commander Irwin, on the other hand, is tall, muscular, a full head of blonde hair, and bright blue eyes. So how would this battle even go? Couldn't Bill just crush Irwin's skull and be done with it? Well, yes, but here's the problem. As we see throughout the series, Bill takes orders amazingly. He even receives insane power boosts when people like Hank tell him what to do. So before Bill can attack Erwin, being the masterful orator he is, he would start giving one of his amazing speeches. And that speech would not only force Bill into submission, it would fill Bill with so much hope he would reach a whole new level of joy and power. And with that power, he would go on to destroy all of Marley and in turn save the Eldian Empire, powered up off of one of the most motivating speeches in human history. But that's enough versus battles for William Fontaine de la Tour Dautrive. But since some of you might still be wondering, can Bill beat this guy, or this Instagram influencer? Comment them and I'll try to respond with a pretty decent answer. But hopefully now that you've seen a couple of these videos, or all of them if you're really cool, all those parties you go to with a ton of hot chicks, or handsome dudes if you're one of the few women who watch my channel, you can explain the power system in the Koth universe. And since you've seen all these in-depth breakdowns on these guys, you could formulate your own theories on where other characters in the verse stand on the power scale. Along with that, I also hope you enjoyed the video, because I enjoyed making it for all you wonderful people. Especially the 5% that are women. Ladies. But yeah, I hope you'll stay for a short message during the credits, but anyways, my name is Marco of MIC Studios, my last name isn't important, and roll credits. Alright, I am back. After a very long time without an actual upload, and a still very long time since an upload in general, I'm back with my longest video yet, and definitely, you know, top 3 videos right here. And yeah, I've slept 1 hour in the last 26 hours, and I haven't eaten in 12 hours, so I want to make this very brief. For one, thank you for watching all the way to the end. You know, you watched an hour 15 minutes of me talking about King of the Hill, then thought, I'll stay an extra couple minutes. Like, that's real fan. Thank you. Look how short the sleeve is on this shirt. But yeah. So I just want to say a couple things besides the thank you. I'm going to take a few YouTube breaks. For one, first break is going to be 1 or 2 weeks. I'm not going to touch my computer. I'm not going to work on videos at all. Number 2 is I am not going to make any more power scales for the next 1 or 2 videos, because I definitely am going to keep making them, don't worry. But my next 1 or 2 uploads will not be King of the Hill power scales or power scales at all. Just because I don't want to oversaturate the market, you guys, and I don't want to oversaturate my brain and make me hate them. But yeah, so, you know, in this time I gave a few community posts about what I was doing and little updates. If you want more updates and just stupid tweets from yours truly, go follow my Twitter. Put it right there. Or there. I'm really tired. I don't remember how I framed the camera. But yeah, thank you for everything. If you really like the video, you know, go watch it again or go show it to your friends. Get them to be a little smarter, like you and me, King of the Hill aficionados. But yeah, anyways, my name is Marco of MIC Studios. My last name isn't important. And roll credits.